Today, I'm excited to be joined by Louis Timpany. Louis is the CEO of Fix Radio, a national radio station serving the trades and construction industry. And what I want to find out is, how did Louis go from being a labourer working for a groundworking company to building, growing and scaling and becoming the CEO of a huge radio station? But not only that, I want to uncover why Louis has brought his philosophy of helping and supporting people such as ourselves within the industry on major issues such as tool theft and mental health. Louis also gone on to set up the UK's first festival for trades and construction workers. But also, what I want to tap into is that CEO mindset on things like marketing, systems, and building a team to help to scale a business. So whether we're scaling a radio station or we're scaling a trades or construction business, the philosophy of growing a business is the exact same. And I want to find out off Louis exactly how he's done it. Louis, welcome to the show.
Oh, Craig, it's brilliant to be on here. You're a great friend of Fix Radio. I know you've helped a lot of our presenters on Fix, and it's a real privilege and pleasure to be on this podcast.
Thank you, Louis. Listen, it's a pleasure to have you on, because since we agreed that you were coming on the show, I've been really excited, because not only am I looking at this from a point of view of how you've built, grown and scaled a business, but also in terms of your background and how you came up with the concept. And interviewing a CEO of a major organization, I'm sure our listeners are going to get loads of value from it.
I hope so. We'll see.
So my first question for you is, and this is where I'm intrigued, Fix Radio, right? How the hell do you come up with a radio station? Because it's not the normal thing that someone does where you just wake up one morning and think, I'm going to set up a radio station. So how did it all come about?
Yeah, like a lot of these things, ideas can come to you in unusual circumstances. And for myself, I'd studied. I went to university. I studied business there. I always had aspirations to try and run my own business, and then I just didn't have an idea. And so I was applying for jobs. And while I was applying for those jobs, I was working for a local grounds worker nearby my house where I live in Hampshire. And I was working on sites for about 6 months. And I started to realize every site I went to, first thing on the morning was the radio, seemed to be the number one source of arguments each day was what radio station was going to get played. And it was from that experience where I firsthand could see how much, the trade loved the radio. And I saw the opportunity for a radio station directly serving that community. I thought I heard the stations on offer, and I thought we could do better than that. If we're making one just for the trades, we could make it better. And that's where the initial idea was born.
Right. So groundworking then, that's where you cut your teeth.
That's it. I'm not a tradesperson. I can't claim to be one. I'd love to be able to claim I was, because it's a wonderful career. But I was there for 6 months, and yeah, I was working for a grounds worker, and it was hilarious. He had this sort of mysterious back injury, which tend to always play up on rainy days. And so what that meant was that he was always sat in the digger, and then I was there out on the front line, digging hard with a shovel. So it was hard graft. Probably the hardest work I've done in the last 10 years was those initial 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, groundworks and landscaping, it is backbreaking, ball-aching stuff.
Yeah, but I also started to get appreciation for how detailed it is. If you don't get that bit right, you don't get the foundations right, then the rest of the house can be buggered. So it really made me appreciate how important that work was.
Brilliant. Had you any experience in radio or presenting or anything like previous to this?
No, zero experience in radio. Same with the trade. Yeah.
So this idea then, you've come up with it, but what what sort of like problem were you trying to solve then? Because there's loads of radio stations out there, isn't there, that people listen to, and they've
Yeah.
all got their own, haven't they? They've all got their own what they listen to, if it's this one or that one. So, what? How did you think from this concept and this idea you could break into the market, and what were you trying to solve?
Yeah. I guess the problem I was trying to solve was the daily argument of which radio station was going to get played. And from my personal experience, I saw like the following things. One is music getting repeated loads, which used to drive tradespeople mad, that I saw. Kind of unrelatable, boring presenters, too much commercial advertising and unrelatable advertising, things that had zero interest to the people I was on site with. So I saw all of these sort of pain points. And so I guess what the problem I was trying to solve is, how could we create a radio station which doesn't have, doesn't repeat itself all day long, that has really authentic, funny, entertaining presenters, advertising that's actually useful. All of these, it's not just one thing. There's all of these small ways that we could create a better experience for tradespeople listening in. So that's the product side. And then commercially, if we can build an audience of tradespeople, then the challenge is, okay, how do we get advertisers to trust us as a way of marketing their products and services via fixed radio? And again, that took time to build up trust and to start unlocking commercial revenue, which is important because that's how you survive as a commercial radio station.
So, what year were this then? Just take us back and timeline this out.
Yeah, this was 2015. So I was 22 and it was 2015. And then it took me 2 years from that time on site. It took me 2 years to then eventually go live, which was April 2017 was our first day on air. And that was London. We had a London license, so it was London only, with a small team based out of Battersea in London.
Wow. Wow, what a story, what a journey. Okay. Well, fixed radio's grown massively since that time. So, can you give us an idea now of how big the station is, in terms of listeners and the reach that you've currently got?
Yeah, so we're now reaching, we're available nationwide on DAB, and we're reaching about 1 in 5 UK tradespeople every week. So it's about 625,000 weekly listeners. And that figure is externally audited. So there's a research company called Nielsen that will provide information and data as to how many listeners we have, and they give that to us on a quarterly basis. So we've got significant reach on our radio station, and then we've built up a social following across Instagram, Meta, Facebook. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm getting this. You can tell I'm not. This isn't my bread and butter. But we're reaching about 400,000 across those main social platforms. So socials become a big part of this as well.
So, over 600,000 listeners, over 400,000 people on social, reaching 1 in 5 tradesmen. So, what do you think has helped the station grow? Because it's grown massively over that time. And
Mhm.
was there a turning point or a big decision that you've made that's made a significant decision
Mm.
in the growth of the station?
Yeah, I think in reality, there's never a silver bullet. There's never like one thing that dramatically changes things. It's like thousands and thousands of small decisions that over time build up. So I'm a big believer in that. What I will say is there's been a few, there are a few bigger decisions that make a big change. So for us, going from a regional brand, so London only, to nationwide, was a massive change because suddenly we can increase our ability to reach tradespeople across the country, and it scaled up the business massively. There was a few other moments. One was we used to, for many years, provide our own internal research as to how big our audience was, and you can imagine cynical commercial partners will say, "Well, kind of, you're marking your own homework," and so they may not feel confident enough to work with us. And then when we went nationwide, we started getting our numbers externally audited, and so it was externally verified. And so the combination of being able to go nationwide, externally audited numbers, that dramatically changed the scale of our business. And then I think reflecting back over the last 10 years, I think getting big hires right, really capable, ambitious, passionate people to join me and help me grow the brand. If I think two or three of those have made dramatic and tangible changes to our company, definitely.
Yeah. And I suppose here, the learnings and lessons are it doesn't matter whether you're a joiner by trade like me, running a joinery business, we've still got to market as business. We've still got to have a team around us to help us scale. So it's the exact same whether it's a trades business or a radio station. But
Yeah.
the thing I like about it is unique just to trades. So there is a bit of banter on there, and it's all trades interviews and things like that. So it's quite niche and unique, which to me, I'm thinking over 600,000 people in a unique single industry is fantastic. But it's not just about the banter, is it? Because you've built a proper community that you've already alluded to, over 400,000 people on your socials, but it goes beyond that. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I think fixed radio is nothing without its listeners, right? And so they are the most important part of this brand. And so we've got a bit of a mantra. I know you were on with Clive before. Clive really stands for this, where we say it's not about us, it's about them. And what that means is it puts us in a mindset where we're not trying to elevate Fix and sort of say, look how great we are. Our presenters aren't trying to elevate their own status and promote themselves. We're like, no, how can we serve this audience as best that we can? And so we try and do that in ways like we don't carry any gambling ads because I just don't think it's helpful. I can't have Clive talk for an hour about people struggling with their mental health and then go into trying to promote gambling because I just don't think that's helpful to people. We don't have any premium rate text lines. A lot of these radio stations will have astronomical, costly texting numbers and phones. So we've got none of that. We try and create joy in people's lives each day. A lot of people work by themselves, and so we want to have some joy and entertainment. We want to inform them with really insightful content. And then occasionally we get these magic moments where, people within the community get in touch and, they might be going through some sort of crisis, right? They've had their tools stolen, they've fallen into ill health, whatever it is. We can't always do this, but we try and jump to their need, when they're on their knees and help them up in those moments. So there's been some amazing times where we've been able to help people out with a new set of tools or, help them in a financial circumstance or whatever it looks like. We can't always do it, but we've had the privilege to be able to help some people along the way. So the overall picture of that is we try and love our audience, love our community, and what we're finding is the more we love them, the more they love us back. It's like a great marriage relationship, and that's what we're seeing. And yeah, it's amazing to see that.
Yeah. And you know what? Coming into this podcast today, I shared in our community, Trades Freedom Club community, that our Avenue On show. And mainly through Andy Cam, who's one of your presenters on your plumbing and heating show. Andy Cam's obviously one of our members. He's a good friend of mine. And he's the one that got me into listening to fixed radio, hence the reason why it's starting to filter through our community now. And one of the things I've just picked up on what you've just said, Louis, is, some of these trades, men and women, they do work on their own. And I remember when I first set up back in 1994, I were on my own in a big joiner's shop, 2,000 square foot joiner's shop that I took on my own. And I'm like, the radio, I know this might sound a bit bizarre, but the radio was my best friend. It was the only person sometimes I got to speak to or listen to all day long. And the radio actually kept me going.
Mm.
So what I like about, I'm not just blowing smoke. What I like about it is it's actually for tradespeople, and you do get tradespeople on your show on a regular basis. So do you want to talk to us about that? I mean, I've been on Clive Hollands this morning.
Yeah.
So just talk to us about how because this is part of your culture, are you bringing the audience that are listening to you actually onto the show?
Mm. Well, yeah, just before I answer that, I think you've nicely captured what radio is about, which in its most simple form, it's just company, right? It's literally just company. And I think what's nice about radio is if you think about other mediums, you've got TV, you've got print, you don't necessarily have like a relationship with your newspaper or magazine. You don't necessarily have a relationship with the TV, whereas radio, there's this, it's amazing relationship where you genuinely have company and it keeps you going through the day. And so it's cool that you've captured that. And I've spent many times out by myself driving around, and I always feel a sense of company when I listen into Fix. But yeah, we moving on to what you mentioned there. We love having people on the station. It's brilliant. This is a community radio station, and therefore we love to get the characters that make up this community on Fix as regularly as possible. And we, the ball builders at breakfast are always having people on. Clive, you've just been on his show now, and it might be just something humorous that's happened, or it'll be people like yourself sharing advice and thoughts on how people can build businesses. It's quite varied, but we love having people on.
Yeah. And again, I think the culture in what you've created is fairly special in the fact that, there's common issues that trades business owners face, whether that's tool theft. I mean, literally, I were on Facebook this morning and I've seen another van where they've literally cut through. I don't know how they've done it, still sawed, whatever. They've cut through the roof of a van and robbed it. So I know issues like that and issues like mental health, especially after COVID and things like that. And I know that's very close to your culture and that. So can you just explain a bit more about why you've gone down that route?
Yeah, I think, you see, we talk about this word community a lot. I think now Fix is at the heart of the community. And so we want to do our bit to make sure these issues that are facing the men and women in the community, that we raise awareness of them, that we do our bit to try and help and improve whatever's going on in people's lives. And so, going back to this example of me seeing this as a relationship, if my best mate, I meet my best mate down the pub, and he's just had a family member that's died or something really serious in his life, and I'm there showing zero awareness to what's going on in his life and just joking around and not really being that supportive friend, immediately that's going to tarnish that relationship. And so our job at Fix is we want to know everything that's going on in people's lives, and then we want to do our bit to try and be that supportive friend and help where we can. And we can do that with our radio presenters. We've also now set up the Fix Radio Foundation, which is a charity arm of our business, where we distribute a proportion of our profits into the charity, and then we use that to give back to those that are going through crisis or are marginalised, and we do our bit to try and help them where we can.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that goes a long way. Like we're talking about a radio station here that's got this culture of help and support. You said it's a community station where you've now, getting involved with charities and putting a portion of your profits to it. And I think that people actually want to see and feel that. And that's another reason why I think your listeners are exploding.
Mm.
But let's take it to a whole new level now, because you've come a long way in that time. However, you've come up with something that's really unique for a radio station, let's say, in the fact that you've come up with FixFest. And Andy Cam rung me a few months ago and he went, "What are you doing in August?" I went, I'll be going on holiday. Why? He says, "Are you on holiday at the end of August 30th?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. Why?" He says, "Right, do you fancy coming to FixFest?" I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Fix Radio putting a..." So are you happy to just share a little bit about
Definitely.
that? Because this is taking it to a whole new level.
It is. Yeah, we're launching the first ever music festival dedicated to the trade and construction community. And, we've got this relationship with the community through the radio station. We thought, why don't we try and bring everyone together and, have an almighty day full of fun, but there's a few serious parts of the festival where we're going to try and use the day to help some people as well. So yeah, it's taking place on the 30th of August. So at the end of the summer, it's the last Saturday of the summer. So we thought a nice final blowout, and it's a one-day festival. So it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and it's taking place in Haywards Heath in West Sussex. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So again, what made you come up with the idea of putting a festival on? Because I mean, we put events on, not festivals, but we put marketing, business, trading events on for tradespeople, and we've got an events team, right?
Mm.
To put events on where we have a couple hundred people come. But just share with us sort of like how big this festival is, because it's not just a small time festival. You've got some major people headlining, aren't you, as well? So just
Mm.
talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I guess the inspiration, there's been a few moments, like I don't know if how many of your listeners will have gone to install a show, but there's a plumbers, they used to call it the plumbers social. And there's about, what I saw is when I went last year, there's about 200 or 300 plumbers there. Everyone were just having the flipping time of their life, catching up, whether it's colleagues, influencers that you follow, everyone has a lot of shared stories and shared passions. And so there's been a few moments like that. We've put on a few pub quizzes around the country. There's something special about bringing a group of tradespeople and their families together. And so that's what inspired me, and to do this on a bigger scale. So we're trying to get 5,000 tradespeople and their families along. So it's ambitious for a year one. We're about halfway on that goal, with a few months to go. So yeah, it's a big project, this, and one that I really think it's going to be a special day. I hope it is.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned families as well. So this is not literally just for your listeners. This is for the wider community and the families as well. Then.
Yeah, so it's a family day out. Kids under the age of 14 can come for free. We've got some diggers from Diggerland. We've got a big wheel that the kids can ride on. Some kids characters wandering around. Um, and then obviously the music entertainment. We've got Dizzy Rascal headlining, Scouting for Girls, Top Loader. We're doing a funny competition on Fix Radio called Sing Your Way to FixFest, and we're going to try and find the best singers from construction sites across the UK to come and actually sing on the main stage. And also, with everything going on with Oasis this year, they were slightly out of budget, Craig, for FixFest, but we do have Noasis, which is a really good cover band that will be there on the day. So great music entertainment, and plenty of food and drink as well.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds brilliant. Well, we're coming down. I'm bringing my family down. So with that though, you've also integrated your sort of like passion for helping and supporting your community with things like mental health and things like that. So talk to us about that side of Fix Fest, because it's not just about the music and beers, is it? There's a bit more to it than that.
That's it, yeah. We're trying to think, how can we make the best use of having so many of our community in one place. So we've got two specific areas. One is called our inspiration zone, and a big topic on Fix is all around the skills gap shortage, not getting enough youngsters into the trade, and so we wanted an area to try and help with that. So we've got 8 different stands covering the main different trades, and all of the presenters of those shows on Fixed Radio will run those stands. And it's all about trying to have really open and honest conversations with anyone considering joining the trade. And so they'll be there talking about how they got into it, what they love about it, and doing whatever they can to try and inspire as many people to join this brilliant community. So we've got the inspiration zone, and then we've also got an area called the powerhouse, which is just all about trying to help people with their mental health. And we want to. It's really important that we genuinely help. So what this isn't is like talking about theory or some people with charities there that aren't really in the trade. This is genuine tradespeople who have had adversity in their lives. They've really struggled with their mental health, and they're going to be there talking to people about how they overcame that, what support did they get, what advice have they got. So it's really, like authentic, real, and we hope that if anyone's coming that might be in need of some help, that they can get that from that area. So they're two kind of the more serious parts of FixFest. And then we've also got sort of 25 trade exhibitor stands like you'd see at any of the main trade shows, where we've got all of the big tool brands, builders merchants, van manufacturers, loads of suppliers. So people will be able to wander around those in the early part of the day and see some great products.
Yeah. Sounds great. And again, what I'm sort of like hearing from you here is continuing with that ethos of that help and support in an industry that we all love and we belong to is now carrying through into FixFest. So just give us an idea, sort of like how, because I keep coming back to how many people we have in a team to put an event on with 200 to 300 people.
Yeah.
How many people have you had to pull together to pull this off at ground?
Yeah, I've got a team of about 10. So you've got I guess the three biggest areas are the operational side of it, which is like security, staging, toilets, bars. And I've got a team that I've outsourced that are looking after that. And they've got a lot of experience of putting on big events. So you've got that part of it. You've then got the commercial side of it, which is selling sponsorships for, our VIP area, our food and drink sponsors. We've got our headline sponsors that are Wix that have been really, really supportive throughout this process. So you've got the commercial side, and I've got an existing commercial team at Fix that are looking after that. And then the final area, which is the bit that I'm looking after, which is why I probably look so stressed and tired, is the marketing side, which is trying to get people to buy tickets. And so I've been down living in an Airbnb by the festival location in a pickup truck, a branded FixFest pickup truck, driving around every day, speaking to as many tradespeople as I can and talking to them about FixFest and trying to twist their arm to come along. So yeah, they're the different components. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is some commitment to the cause.
Well, I think when you start something new, I personally think you can't outsource it. It's like no one's gonna, my name's attached to this and it's bloody hard work getting something off the ground. And I don't think I could have found someone that would have driven this as hard as I would personally. So I hope I'm not having to do this in 2, 3 years time, but to get this off the ground, I've just got to be there myself and get this done basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And credit to you, that's I suppose all part of your philosophy of your community. So
Mm.
how can people get hold of Fix Fest tickets then, Louis?
Great question. Yeah, so if they go to fixfest.co.uk, then the tickets are available there. We've got an option where people can split the cost over 2 months. So a standard ticket's £55. There's a VIP ticket where we've got a really cool VIP area which has a private balcony overlooking the main stage. All of the fixed presenters are going to be in there. Some nice food and drink options, and that's 110. And then there's a student ticket at £35. So yeah, they can go to fixfest.co.uk to get that. We've also, for your community, we've set up a discount code which is TFC25, and that gives 25% off the ticket price. So if anyone's listening in and wants to join us for a beer on the 30th of August, then they can use that. So TFC25 to get cheaper tickets.
Amazing. Well, listen, we really appreciate that, and I'm sure there'll be many of our audience as well in our community that will be joining me and Andy Cam and others down there. So thanks for that. So one last question around FixFest then. What would you say to anyone that's actually sat on fence that might be watching or listening to this episode now thinking, oh, shall I, shan't I? It's end of August, it's summer holidays and blah, blah, blah. What would you say to them?
I'd say this is the first ever music festival for the trading construction community. It is going to be the day of the summer, and don't miss out. Don't miss out on the fun.
Yeah, brilliant. All right. Thank you ever so much for that. Okay, Louis, another area that I want to bring in, if we can, is we've got a very, very successful CEO that's built an organization. And how many people do you employ now, just out of interest, just to put
There's,
into context?
yeah, including our presenters, there's about 60 of us now at Fix.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've built this huge organization from a standing start of being a ground worker, right? All them years back. But what I'm interested to know now is a little bit about that CEO mindset in terms of things such as marketing, because I've already said it doesn't matter whether you're marketing at FixFest or radio station or you're marketing a plumbing or heating company. We've still got to market our businesses. So can you give us some inspiration and strategies around what you've done to build your business in terms of marketing?
Yeah, I think we're in a very much word of mouth industry, like similar to probably a lot of the people listening into this that have their own building firms, word of mouth is massive. And so the way that we've treated our listeners, I think so many of the community have helped us along the way with telling people about Fix. You know, you had Andy Cam tell you about Fix. And so trying to look after people well, and use the power of word of mouth is massive. We're still a pretty small brand in the grand scheme of things and don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds to spend on marketing. So we have to be really clever with how we spend that money. So I'm always thinking, I don't want to really be spending anywhere where there's a lot of wastage, where a lot of that money isn't going to get cut through. So still for us, social media is just brilliant. Paid social and social media. We spend time actually driving around. We've got promo vehicles on the road, and we'll go around and visit building sites, and we'll give out bacon butties and Fix merch and tell them about Fix. We've also done some quite good PR stunts, Craig, where we'll try and think of something creative that might get the name out there about Fix, and hope that it goes viral. So we've had two that have done pretty well. One, there's this big issue. Again, it will probably affect a lot of your community with consumers chucking crap in skips, right? And then the tradespeople are having to pay for the skip to get cleared. And so we thought, how do we raise awareness of this issue? And we put a skip outside a very well-known cafe in central London, and we filmed it for a whole week. And we got all of these amazing interactions with people chucking fridges in there, chucking mirrors. And then one of our presenters would pop out with a microphone in their face and be like, oh, is this your skip? And they'll be there like flipping, looking shocked that they've been busted. So we got all of these great bits of content, and that ended up getting picked up everywhere. We're in the Sun, in the Mirror. I think Loose Women were talking about it. Piers Morgan's show on YouTube. So that was really good. And then there was another one where we'd run a competition on air to find Britain's most paint splattered radio, right? Like there's all of these iconic site radios covered in paint. And what we did is outside the Tate Modern, which is a famous art gallery in London, we put this radio on a plinth outside the Tate Modern, put glass all around it, put something on the front. And then again, we filmed all of these interactions asking people what they thought of this piece of art. And had all of these people giving really serious answers. I can see it's obviously pre-war, and I love what they've done with the paint. And anyway, so we filmed that, and again that got picked up everywhere. People absolutely love that. So yeah, a few stunts along the way have helped us get the name out there. But that's some of the bits that we've done at Fix.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm sat there smiling actually at some of the things that you've done. And I'm thinking, how would this sort of like wrap into a trades business?
Mm.
And the first thing that you said is word of mouth,
Mm.
right? So the more people that we can get as a trades business referring us to happy customers and clients, which is where referral strategies come in place. So you
Yeah.
get to the end of a job, and what we need to implement into our business is a referral strategy to encourage that happy customer to go and tell more of our target market about our business. So that ties in with that.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, you mentioned social media. One of the things that I'm big on is doing things different.
Mm.
Not doing the same type of marketing as everybody else and not standing out. So by you doing the skip and by you doing the splattered paint radio, again, I'm looking at that and thinking, well, that's just standing out. And look where it got you. Loose Women, Piers Morgan, in some newspaper. But it comes back to that mindset of when you're prepared to do what other people aren't prepared to do, then
Yeah.
you'll see a different result. So that's how I see that correlating into a trades business. What about systems? Because I'm thinking here, if I were employing 60 members of staff and you've got all these different presenters and all these different time slots and you've got all these different guests coming in, you must have some systems that are sat inside your business that are running all this behind the scenes.
Mm.
So talk to us about scaling a business and how important systems are.
Yeah, I mean it's critical. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart. So all a business is people and processes. So yeah, I mean, so we use Zero, for example, a brilliant accountancy software. And what's been great about that is that we were able to scale with it. I actually personally did it myself for the first sort of year or two. It's that simple. And then bit by bit, we bring in finance resource that will then take that on. Again, with HR, you've got brilliant software that enables us to outsource that and have that sorted. We've got CRM systems that the commercial team use where they can keep track of our customers and when's the last time they were spoken to, what their contact details are, all of the information about their contracts are on there. So it's the unless you've got good systems in place, the whole thing falls apart. And I guess going back to the early days of Fix, I think the important thing is to try and work out if I think about myself, what are my greatest strengths and how can I add the most amount of value to the business? And I want to try and free myself up to focus on those areas. So for me, sitting there sending out invoices is not a good use of my time. So although it takes a bit of courage at the start to go, okay, I'm going to add incremental costs by outsourcing that or bringing someone in, I bet you by freeing myself up for an extra 3 or 4 hours, I can add more value than it costs me to bring someone in to take that off me. And so I'm constantly, even now, a lot of my time is then, okay, how am I using my time? What can I outsource so I can do more of that? What can I outsource? And I'm constantly thinking about that. I think that helps you scale, having that mindset, constantly trying to put yourself out of job, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And again, bringing that back into a trades or construction business, I talk heavily a lot about getting rid of low value tasks.
Yeah.
Your emails, your phone calls, paperwork and all that type of stuff that a tradesperson would typically do. We've got systems, we've got software, we've got tools, we've got apps now that we can systemize and automate most of that process within a trades business. And when we get the right systems in place and we're outsourcing all these low value tasks and freeing up our time to spend on the high value tasks that's going to grow the business, then we're going to get results.
Yeah, definitely.
What about then the missing ingredient? You've said that you've got sort of like 50, 60 members of staff. You've got a team of 10 people helping you with FixFest. How important has it been on your journey, Louis, to have surrounded yourself with the right team?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, we used to, one of your early questions was, did you have any radio experience? And did you have much experience in the trade? Neither of those things. And therefore, I need to find people around me who are radio professionals that really know how to program a radio station. I also need to find people like Clive, like the Bull Builders, like Andy Cam, that have lived and breathed this trade community to represent Fix and provide authentic content. I couldn't do that. I've got no knowledge on. So Fix is all about trying to empower others and get people in the right place. So I've been blessed with an amazing team around me, and that's definitely been one of the key factors that's led to our success.
Yeah. And again, bringing that back into a trades business, I remember when I first set up back in 94, I was that ultimate busy fool because I was having to do literally everything. I'm dealing with the inquiries, I'm doing the marketing, I'm doing the quoting, I'm doing the surveying, I'm out evenings and weekends looking at jobs, I'm on tools during the day trying to earn the money. We're going to struggle to scale and build the quality of life that we want for our families if we're trying to do everything ourselves because we're terrified of letting go of our baby and letting somebody else come into it and helping us manage it. Actually, I'd like to ask you this question because I am still a control freak, right? I don't claim it, but deep down I still am. I don't think that'll ever leave me. But scaling your baby and this concept and idea, what tips have you got, or what could you advise us on actually having to let go? Because while ever we're having to poke us nose in every single area of his business, and we're not letting our team do what we're bringing them in to do, we do become that control freak, and that can hold us back. So, what advice would you give to someone to let go of the reins?
Yeah, it's such a good point. And the way I look at this is that you will, if you get comfortable with the fact that you're never going to find someone that will be as good as you are at that particular task, is the likelihood, and get comfortable that they'll do it at 70 or 80%, then, and getting comfortable with that, then that allows you to scale. And the reality is that you giving 100% is still less than 170% with you and one other. And so I think getting comfortable that people aren't going to be able to exactly replicate what you offer and bring, I think is a key part. And then it's having to go through that uncomfortableness of letting go and seeing, you know, mistakes being made, but knowing that that's part of that process, that these people hopefully will learn from them, get better, and you've just part of that growth process is seeing that happen. So I think it's getting comfortable. You can't always, if you're always striving to replicate yourself perfectly, then I think you'll always just be, it will limit your ability to grow. But trying to relax that slightly and getting comfortable with 70% is key, I think.
Yeah, yeah, amazing advice. Thank you. Okay, then, Louis. So we've heard a lot about fixed radio. So anyone who's listening or watching this podcast that's not already been listening to fixed radio, where can they go and find you? Where do they need to go and start listening to you? Can you tell us where they need to go?
So we're available on DAB across the country. So if you've got a DAB radio in your van, in your car, or on site, you know, maybe your Makita radio, then scroll down to F. I think either side of Fun Kids and Gadio. So we're in quite a mix there. Yeah, find us on that. We're also available via app. So you can download our app or via our website. We'd love to have you join this community and listen in, and I hope we don't disappoint.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you won't. I mean, we love the station, right? We're spreading the word. We're going to be down at FixFest on 30th of August. So I want to say a massive thank you for giving up your time, because I know you're busy with FixFest. Thank you for coming on the show, Louis. And also thank you and reminding us about FixFest tickets. So we just want to cover that off again, just to let everybody know where they can get FixFest tickets, and also the discount that you very kindly offered to our community to get the tickets.
Yeah, so it's fixfest.co.uk. Tickets are available there, and then the discount code is TFC25, and that'll give 25% off at checkout. But Craig, thank you so much for having me on. You know, I love listening to your podcast in the lead up to this, and you have this brilliant ability of making what can be very complex things very simple, with simple steps with how to grow a business. And I've learned a lot actually from the ones that I've listened. So I'm really grateful for having me on, and keep up that amazing work with helping as many people as you can grow their businesses. That's what it's all about.
Amazing. Thank you. So I'll see you on 30th then at FixFest.
Yes, mate. I've got an orange bucket hat with your name on, Craig.
Amazing. Right. Thanks ever so much then, Louis. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, buddy.
Well, what a fascinating and inspirational interview and chat this has just been. Because going from a labourer working on a groundworking building site to having an idea about setting up a radio station and then growing it to the point that Louis has done, wrapped into all that, the culture and the help and the support that they are providing to the trades and construction industry, and then coming up with an idea of FixFest, it just goes to show that no matter what you set your ideas and plans to, with the right team and with the right drive, we can achieve absolutely anything. So if you are wanting to secure your tickets to FixFest, or you're wanting to start to listen to Fix Radio, I've included the links in and around the description and the show notes of this episode. And remember to use the discount code to grab your tickets to FixFest. And I'll see you there on the 30th of August. And remember, when you're prepared to do things that other people aren't prepared to do, like Louis has, then you'll get a different result. So thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on next week's episode, and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.